It was nighttime in the Ohio town of Kirtland, and Apostle Parley P. Pratt had already gone to bed when there was a knock at the door. It was several brethren with fellow Apostle Heber C. Kimball, who said he had felt inspired to wake Elder Pratt and give him a blessing.
Thou shalt go to Upper Canada, even to the city of Toronto, and there thou shalt find a people prepared for the gospel. And thou shalt organize the church among them. And from the things growing out of this mission shall the fullness of the gospel spread into England.
So, as Brother Pratt prepared for his journey, in far-off Toronto, the Lord was preparing for the conversion of the future third president of his church in the latter days, John Taylor. Born November 1st, 1808 in Millenthorpe, Westmoreland County, England, John Taylor, as a young boy, had seen a vision of an angel in the heavens, holding a trumpet to his mouth and sounding a message to the nations. A vision John didn't understand until years later. He was baptized a member of the Church of England as a baby, but when he was about 16, John decided to join the Methodist Church. And within 5 years from that time, John and his family had immigrated to Toronto, where he became a class leader in the Methodist Church there. One class member was Lenora Cannon, who had traveled to Canada from England as a lady's companion. John Taylor had met his future wife. As time went on, he and several friends became dissatisfied with many Methodist doctrines and formed their own study group. And while this group held their meetings, a nearly destitute Parley P. Pratt left a sick wife down in Ohio to go to Upper Canada, even to Toronto, to preach the restored gospel. After John had heard Parley preach, however, he was not converted immediately. For 3 weeks, he followed the American from place to place, listening to his sermons and recording them so he could compare them with the scriptures. He also made a prayerful study of the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenants. Finally, he was convinced that the true gospel of Jesus Christ had been restored to the earth by heavenly messengers. The meaning of his childhood vision had been made clear. He and Lenora were baptized in May 1836. Others of the study group were also baptized, among them Joseph Fielding. He asked John Taylor to write concerning the gospel to his brother, a minister in Preston, England. And thus the way was prepared for the fullness of the gospel to be spread into England, as Elder Kimball had prophesied. Only a few months after his baptism, John Taylor was placed in charge of the church in Canada, until a year later, Joseph Smith asked John to settle in far west Missouri. There the Taylors lived for a year, long enough for John to be ordained an apostle in 1838, and long enough to suffer through some of the worst mob persecutions the saints saw in Missouri. So within a few months, the Taylors were moving again, this time to Illinois, where they lived in an old military barracks while John prepared for a mission to England. After his mission, he helped to build Nauvoo into one of the finest cities in the West, and served his community more than ably as editor of 2 papers. The Times and Seasons, concerned more with church matters, and the Nauvoo Neighbor, concentrating more on cultural and educational matters. Then, on June 27, 1844, tragedy struck in nearby Carthage, and John Taylor was there.
I
sang a song that had lately been introduced into Nauvoo. The song was very much in accordance with our feelings, for our spirits were all depressed and gloomy, with ominous forebodings. Soon afterwards, I saw men with painted faces coming around the corner of the jail. A ball passed through the panel of the door and struck Brother Hiram. Another ball from outside entered his back. They pushed the door some distance open and discharged their guns into the room when I parried them off with my walking stick. I remember feeling as though my time had come. After parrying the guns for some time, seeing no hope of escape, it occurred to me that we might have some friends outside. I made a spring for the window. As I reached the window, I was struck. I felt myself falling outside. But immediately I fell inside from some unknown cause. I crawled under the bed not far from the window. While on my way, I was wounded in 3 other places. Joseph also made an attempt to leap out of the window. Oh, how lonely was that feeling. How cold, barren, and desolate. Our prophet, our counselor, our general, our leader, was gone.
But the church did not die with the prophets, nor did John Taylor, who was miraculously saved as his watch stopped a bullet aimed for his heart. During the winter of 1846, John, with 2 other apostles, was called on a second mission to England, where they spent 9 months settling problems in the branches of the church and gathering scientific instruments for the saints to use in their westward trek. They returned in April 1847, just in time to deliver the instruments to Brigham Young, who was leaving for the West with the advance company. John Taylor was left behind to help organize and lead the main body of saints in their westward journey 2 months later. John Taylor remained in Salt Lake Valley that first trying winter, while Brigham Young and others of the 12 returned to winter quarters, Nebraska. 2 years later, John Taylor left Utah to fulfill a mission to France, where he organized a project for bringing the sugar beet industry to Utah, and directed the translation of the Book of Mormon into French and German.